Record. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining the 12th Zoom call, or as I'm calling it, Derek's live web chat show. Today is the Thursday edition, where we have a cup of coffee, we relax, and we ask each other a few questions: what we've learnt, what we've unlearnt, what we've gone wow about, etc., etc. And today I've asked three special guests to join me. Number one, my friend Godfrey Lancashire, down in near West Bay in Bridport in Dorset, fabulous part of the world. Gabrielle Gache, who's in Farnborough, my NLP mentor, coach, and advisor, and also an independent financial advisor. And from yesterday, Geoff Ramm, who I've asked to come back and give us his three key marketing tips that people should be putting in place when we get out of this situation that we're in. So welcome, thanks very much for joining us. And don't forget to type in any questions you've got in the chat box, which, as you know, is down in the right-hand corner of your screen. So welcome. Turning to Godfrey first. Welcome, Godfrey. Thanks for joining us again. Godfrey, you are the president of the YMCA down in Dorchester, one of the oldest YMCAs ever, one of the first ones. As the president, what's your strategy for coming out of the furloughing and the issues? I think you've got 600 odd people and lots of people that work for you. What's the strategy? And today I'm going to ask everybody to keep our conversations to about 3-4 minutes. Over to you, Godfrey.
Thanks, Derek, and hello, everybody. Real pleasure to be with you. Very heavily involved in the voluntary sector down here. And just a tiny bit of context. Yes, president of Dorchester YMCA, one of the oldest in the world, founded in 1868. And we had our 150th birthday, of course, just about 18 months ago. We look after about 600 mainly young people every week who use our facilities. So for a small county town of Dorchester, those are pretty good numbers, and we're well regarded and certainly a valuable community asset. So when we kicked off with this horrible coronavirus, we did sit down as a board of trustees and try and second guess the future, which is what we're all trying to do. And we immediately said, rightly or wrongly, we think we've got to budget to September with no income. Interestingly, all YMCAs all around the world are autonomous charities. There's no central funding, and although there's a head office of YMCA, that's really just for branding and other head office help, but not financially. So we all have to raise our own funds, and we're no different. So we're budgeting to September with no income, but of course we've got to pay our overhead. So first of all, what about the staff? We decided we would keep on 3 key employees on the payroll working from home. That's the centre manager, the finance manager, and an admin person. And the rest, about 20 various people who are coaches, they coach gymnastics, they look after the young people we've got, they run various sessions. We have put them on furlough leave, but we have said we'll try and top up their 20%. And that I think we can do. Well, how can we do this? The Board of Trustees has always had a policy of having a minimum, it doesn't sound a lot, but a minimum of £30,000 on reserve for a rainy day for if the roof falls in. Well, I think we'll all agree the roof has truly fallen in, and if this is not an emergency, I don't know what is. So we're probably going to be dipping into that emergency fund. Meanwhile, the finance manager, who is still being paid, I have tasked her number one and really only job is trawling all the government's information to see what help we can get from the government. But of course, although we are a charity, we're not a frontline charity. So we can't expect the same help as maybe a charity in the social care arena will get. We look after young people, but it's not essential. It's a nice facility. And there are some people who come to us who would be roaming the streets and causing mayhem if they weren't with us, but we can't be regarded as a frontline charity. So we're exploring all the options, but we think we can survive until September. And as to the future, we'd like to get back to normal as soon as possible. We know there's a demand. There will be a shortfall, so there'll have to be huge fundraising efforts as soon as we get back. And we think September, because my understanding, and I hope I'm proved wrong, but I would think that schools will not go back until September. And of course, dealing with young people, we will be working very much in line with schools. A lot of them come to us after school for after school activities. And we just have to see, it's a phrase bandied about, unprecedented. So we don't know, but we have some simple plans, Derek, but as to the detail, we really don't know until we know when we can reopen. So we've got a closed building. It's a large building, all the overheads, staff at home, waiting to understand when we can reopen. But as a board of trustees, we've had Zoom meetings, which is great. And we are making our plans as I've described. So maybe that's a little bit of food for thought. Something on reserve for a rainy day is a really good idea.
Fantastic, Godfrey. That's brilliant. So questions for Godfrey in the chat box, and I'll move on now to Gabrielle Gache, who was my, as I said, my NLP coach, taught me all I really use in using your head, using your brains, modeling other people. And the question for you, Gabie, tonight is really, we all make presentations, even if it's a one-to-one to people that we want to influence. From a psychology point of view, positive psychology, what's the things that we should really do to prepare for that? Whether it's a sales pitch, a presentation, negotiation, or just something where we want to persuade someone to see things our way. Gabie.
Well, hi, lovely to see a number of new faces, but mainly people that I've met. So hi. I have been looking and training NLP since the 90s. And basically it's looking at ways of modeling what works. And by way of how to present, I actually have done a lot of coaching, and I've been in a fortunate position to be able to ask people what they do and what strategies they do to give great presentations, to be great negotiators, presenters, coaches, or just doing some networking. You know, I've met people that have gone to networking events, whether it be via this forum or actually going out and meeting people, which one day we'll be back doing again. And the things that seem to be common across successful people is that they know the outcome that they want. And that is by way of how they want to be feeling and how they want the people that they're meeting or presenting to be feeling by the end of the presentation, by the end of the negotiation, by the end of the meeting. So visualizing the various different steps that will get you from, I don't know what way your screen, whether you're seeing it the way that I'm seeing it, but from when you walk in through the door to when you actually leave at the end of the meeting. Visualize the various different steps that you need to get them to the place that you want them to get to. By way of preparation, I do a lot of visualization myself, but there's also breathing, just learning to breathe. Many people breathe very much in their chest rather than down in their belly. So being able to take a few deep breaths, which I have to say today I've struggled with. I don't know if it's the pollen or what it is, but just practice breathing right the way down into your diaphragm, into your belly. And think about how you want the audience to feel. Because if you want them to feel passionate about something, then you go there first, because we are effectively human Wi-Fi. How you are infects other people. So equally, we get infected by other people, but it's who has the strongest signal is going to affect the other person. So I think it's Oprah Winfrey said, I stay away from drains and I stick to radiators. So it's thinking, how are you radiating? What are you radiating? What do you want to radiate by way of emotions, states, feelings? Because if you go there first, the audience will come with you. And it could be that you want them to, through your presentation, have some fear or uncertainty. So you kind of, well, you need to go there first to kind of create not knowing. And it's quite easy at the moment because none of us know what's around the corner. So people will be able to tap into that before you then get to some solutions and answers that you want them to take on board. And the other thing for yourself is give yourself permission to not be perfect. So many people beat themselves up about, oh God, I could have done that better. No, no. And that will affect everything going forward. So what tends to happen is that if you are one of these people that beats yourself up, the people that then are the receivers of that beating up are the family that you come home to at the end of the day. So it's really, really important to learn to debrief in your own mind, in your own space and in your own time, and learn and learn and learn rather than beat yourself up. So give yourself permission to not be perfect. And just understand that there's only certain things that are in your control and certain things that are not. So for example, if you're doing a presentation and your tech doesn't work and that wasn't in your control, well, hey ho, c'est la vie. But what is in control is that you stay centered, you still continue with your presentation and you radiate the messages that you want to radiate, not just verbally, but through every cell of your body.
Fantastic, Gabie. Questions for Gabie, please, in the chat box. Some good questions coming in for Godfrey. And now I'm going to hand over to Geoff, and Geoff's going to give us his 3 top marketing tips for shortly, we hope, but it might be September, it might be longer, it might be shorter. Geoff, are you there?
I am. Hello, everybody. Are you well?
Hi.
Good to see you. So many of you again. We're like buses, me and you, Derek. We're like buses. Okay.
Yeah, they want more of your stuff, Geoff. You just folded your arms there. Now, in body language terms, that's pretty defensive. So I'm sorry. I'm going to have to read from my book. Good to see you. Thanks for coming back.
And you, mate. And you. Okay. I don't know if it's a top 3. Look, there's 3 ideas. 3 ideas I'll throw out there. There's going to be opportunities. It's interesting, September, just mentioning September. I've got that in my head as well. And I think it's this whole, when the schools go back, that's when we'll all come out of this. It's an interesting one. Tips, ideas. So what's going to happen if let's just assume September and we'll pick a date, it's going to happen. And we'll get to know that and it'll start to drip feed, but we will get to know that. As we're getting a little bit closer to that date, it's a good opportunity to sort of get some pre-orders in. Because if we're given the date of the 19th, are we going to wait till 8:30 on the 19th morning to go, I'm open, I'm ready? Because either nothing will happen, something will happen, or everything will happen. People will just be queued up around the block for you. And that could cause its own problems. You've had no work and then you've got loads of work. So the idea, first tip, is you could create some VIP invites. Now this is going to be dependent on many sort of businesses. But one in particular, and this stuck in my head a few weeks ago. So Hayley was due to have her hair done in the salon in the city, and they called her up and they said, we're going to have to close down. We're going to have to close down. So she couldn't get to her appointment. So that was done. They rang every single client up that had a booking that week and said, sorry, if we know of a particular date come September or whenever, then this is a time to get some pre-orders in. So pick up the phone again and say, look, it looks very likely that we're going to be open on the 19th. I know it's 2 weeks away, but do you want to be one of the very first to come in? Because come the 19th, it's going to be crazy. So that VIP treatment comes into the realm of celebrity service, but you're also hopefully getting some pre-booking, some pre-orders, and that's just hair salons. I've got a couple of clients who are salons and brands, and that's something that they can do straight away. So maybe try and fill up the order book by saying to your clients, look, it's going to be busy. Do you want first product? Do you want first order? Do you want first time slot? It's yours if you want it. Let me know, and it's yours. So there's a communication thing that we can do there. Fill up the order book, and it's a VIP invite. Second tip, idea, thing would be, look, there'll be so many people who have supported you through this thick and thin, crazy time that we're in. So there'll be so many people that have supported you. And this is an idea that I had actually via my accountant. So my accountant, we pay our accountant a fee every month. And of course, end of the year, there's your books and all the rest of it done, your accounts. But it was a fee. And with that, we get zero online so we can do all of our stuff. But of course, we pay that fee every month. Our businesses aren't doing anything. Our businesses are effectively shut down as such. But we haven't stopped that payment. But some have. I found out from my accountant that, since it's happened, they've had about 6 or 7 people just said, we just need to hold off here. We'll come back in 6 months. What this accountant, and indeed many businesses can do, is very, very simple. Just get yourself some wonderfully branded, it's got to be branded, thank you cards. Thank you cards. Thing on the front, big, nice and bold, big envelope. And I always talk about big because that's going to be on your client customer's desk for months. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for being a part of keeping the business, going in this crazy time. We appreciate your business. It's service, but with that marketing twist as well, because your brand is in front of their face and on their desk and on their mantelpiece for the next 3 or 4 months. So that's one thing that you can do. And last tip, idea. Dear me, we can't go on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere, and we're doing it now, and all we're seeing is videos. Everybody's creating a video. Here's a top tip. Here's an idea. I don't do too much of that, if I'm honest with you. But Derek, you and I know hundreds of speakers. If there's a chance to get in front of an audience, flipping heck. So when I'm talking about videos, there's a couple of things here. Create a video. Tackle the elephant in the room. But if you're outside of your store, if you're outside of your office, as we're literally cutting the ribbon to go back in, reopening, it's a good chance to do a great video, something that's very heartfelt. There's no marketing in it, but a heartfelt video saying, look, we're going back into the office. We've just opened up. We're ready for business. This is what's happened over the last few months. This is what we're proud of. This is what some of our teammates have done. So you're recognizing and rewarding the teammates for what they've done. This is what we've done as an organization. And we can't wait to see you again. Anything you need, just give us a call. This can be a 1-minute video. It's a thank you message, but it's also something that would be very heartfelt. It's not a promotional piece, but that's something that you can do. Additionally, get yourself, use your phone, turn it around. You can do another video, but do something very personalized. Take your top 10 clients. Take your top 10 clients and actually send them, say, hey, Derek, just wanted to say, we haven't seen you for a few months, but we can't wait to see you again in September, in October. Anything you need, just give us a shout. Hope you and Sally and the team are well, and take care. And it takes you 30 seconds. Costs you nothing. Lives in that person's memory for months, if not years. So VIP invites. Let's get the order book for many businesses. Let's get it ordered and let's get it booked. Thank you cards, videos, 3 ideas. There you go.
Fabulous, Geoff. Fabulous. I'm going to comment on those backwards while people put into the chat box any questions for you. While you were doing that, you gave me the idea. I took a video of you on my iPhone. I also took a selfie video of me trying to stick my head in with you as well. I just want to tell people how easy it is to do it with one of these. And you just a little bit of practice, you'll feel embarrassed at first, you'll think it wasn't very good at first, but Geoff is the master at this. And if you go to Geoff's YouTube channel, you'll see from all over the world 30-second clips of Geoff doing this. And of course, Geoff's the marketing guru. But what a brilliant idea, that third one, Geoff, because this is so easy. And we will feel embarrassed. But as you say, just putting a clip up, walking around your garden or something, I haven't done enough of it, actually. And I can do it by just putting it up there, pressing the right hand button and just going for it. And that's the trick. Do what Gabie says, put yourself in the right frame of mind, know what the outcome is, you're talking to the customer, and go for it. Geoff, you wanted to say something? Just
with the video, you can do that one-to-all. You can do that, we're open, this is what I'm proud of, we've come through it, can't wait for Christmas and all that type of stuff. It can be a real upbeat, hopefully upbeat message, but it's going to come from your heart. And it's going to feel and sound different to the usual stuff we see all the time. For me, the biggest thing is the videos that nobody will see, or the one person will see, and that's that one-to-one. It's that video that I send Derek, it's that video that I send Gabie, and it's just for them. Make them feel like $1 million. It's cost you 30 seconds, but it's taken you 30 seconds, but it's cost you nothing. And we can do this for any client, any customer.
Emotional bank account that then creates, Geoff, is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And most of the videos that we see on LinkedIn are talking about themselves, the person, not talking about the client. Who cares about you? They care about, people care about themselves, which is the whole thing that Kevin was talking about from How to Win Friends and Influence People, which was what Carnegie taught everybody, and still no one gets it. Patricia Fripp, who I'm hoping to get on here next week or the week after, talks about you should use 5 more U's than every I. This is really difficult when you write it, which is why you had to re-script it. But again, you're talking to the client, or you're talking to the people watching, which is what the really good television.
Can I just come in and endorse that, really? And I'm taking my hat off to schools at the moment who are tailoring programs to individual students. Apart from class and group sessions on Zoom or whatever application they're using, they're also doing a lot of one-to-one mentoring, tutoring, and we've taken a little bit of that at the YMCA. We have a huge, are you hearing me? Yep. We have a huge gymnastics section from beginners through to a couple of people who've made the GB team, and they have got individual tailored programs which they are using probably in their lounges or gardens every day to keep that personal contact. And I can't stress that enough, really. The individual contact is really, really important.
Fantastic. And cards you suggested, Geoff, and going on to Gabie, I love that we're human Wi-Fi. How we behave infects other people, and it's our duty as persuaders or influencers to project our energy onto them in a positive way. And we all know people that have tried to sell us something and they've looked bored out their brains and we weren't very important. And it's putting yourself in that frame of mind, in that state, knowing what the outcome is, etc. So some brilliant tips there. And then we go to Godfrey. And Godfrey, you've got a few questions on here, so I'm going to fire the questions at you now, if that's okay. The first question is, Godfrey, where'd you get your income from at the YMCA?
Oh, good question. A lot of fundraising through local companies, some sponsorships, but also we ask particularly in gymnastics or specialist activity, we ask it's usually the parents of the people using the facility to pay a small hourly fee. It may be £1, £1.50. It's not very much, but it's meaningful, and over the year that adds up, and with 600 people doing all sorts of different things, and the children love it. The young people from you know, age 4, 5, right through the teenagers, they love it so much that they are keeping saying, we want to go back, we want 2 hours, we want 3 hours. And so we're able to use that income to pay the coaches and the people who look after the facility. We break even and a little bit each year. We're not a big profit-making organisation, but we need enough to cover our costs. So good question, but it's a big chunk of heavy fundraising through local companies, and then a modest amount that the users pay for each hour's session.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you for that. The questions, keep the questions coming in, but I will unmute everybody as we go on. Second question, Godfrey, this sounds like a banking question, type of question. September is plan A, but what's plan B if no gatherings can take place until 2021?
Gosh, that's a very heavy, almost pessimistic question. Well, but I suppose it could happen. The phrase that springs to mind, which is what we've tried to do to September, is plan for the worst, hope for the best. Bit of a cliche. Cliches are usually true. So that's our approach at the moment. If it went on further than that, we would be clearly looking at the staff we've got on furlough, and we would be really looking to have to cut overheads like everybody else. We would, luckily we own the building, so we haven't got too much of a worry over our actual bricks and mortar, and there are the usual overheads of heat, light, water and all that sort of stuff. There's not much being used, it's closed. But if it went on till next year, golly, that would be a real challenge. I think knowing the people and the volunteers, they would rise to the challenge.
Brilliant. Question for Gabrielle, or Gabie, as I know you, Gabie. A number of organisations have introduced online mindfulness. What do you think of that?
I think there is some amazing stuff out there on mindfulness, and it is a massive, massive subject, and it's very in vogue. I know some companies that prior to this had introduced in-house mindfulness, whereby they had meditation, they did yoga, etc., etc. And it's doing things online. It's the company's way of trying to support their staff. The question is how many people actually log on to it and use it. Many of them are around breathing exercises or yoga exercises, and it is just that stopping. And like I said before, what do you have control over? You have control over where your mind is focused, and that's fundamentally what mindfulness is all about. It's very easy to think about what if, and we don't know the answers to that. But what I do know is that I'm sitting here, the chair is supporting me, I've got a screen full of lovely chaps' faces in front of me. We need to get more women on here. And behind you, I've got the view of my garden. And every so often a squirrel runs up, and that's in the moment. And it's that staying in the moment, finding your stillness, which then enables you to make better choices going forward. So I think it's great. If companies are now doing that, bravo. Shame it took this for them to actually start thinking and caring for their staff.
Another question for you coming, Gabie. Something I want to mention. I was talking to Graham Jones, the programme director at Buckingham University, this morning, and we were talking about Zoom. We were talking about online. I said to him, I'm curious, out of 180 people that have come on these programmes I've run, only 10 women have come on, and I didn't understand that. Also, the second thing I've noticed from the statistics, it's generally older people that come on here rather than younger people, and my outcome was to get some leadership management skills out to younger people, and I'm curious about that. So any thoughts anyone's got on that while I go to the second question to Gabie, I'd be appreciated, and I'm also going to.
I can understand why there aren't so many women on here, because whilst we like to think it's an equal world, biologically women are more geared to the caring of the kids and the looking after of the family, and the home. And you know, my husband is very supportive, he does his bit, but because of what's gone on, I don't have my cleaner, so I'm suddenly having to do more cleaning. I've always been the cook of the home. I know that I'm sure there are some amazing cooks amongst you guys. You know, I had to go to Sainsbury's. Normally we'd kind of do that if my husband was on his way home from a meeting. I'd say, oh, can you just pop into Sainsbury's and get? That doesn't happen anymore. So I think certainly the women are much more involved, and certainly the women that I've been speaking to are much, much more involved in the home life. So they are suddenly, whereas they were juggling before, they were juggling by actually leaving the home. To juggle when you're in the home is a whole new skill set.
Very interesting. Yeah, no, thanks for that. That's interesting. I pointed it out to Graham. Graham's doing some research on it as well at Buckingham University, because he's bothered also that younger people might not want to turn their camera on, which is why I wrote out this afternoon, you don't have to turn the camera on, just join us and pick up a tip or two. Gabie, we also need to support families, 2 parents, 2 kids, 5 and 1. Any thoughts what we can do to support them psychologically? I guess that question is from Paul.
From Paul T, Paul S, Paul
Toombs, my pal who always asks great questions. David Skinner's on here as well. He always asks even better questions, but no one can answer. We'll bring him in later.
So I think it's important that so one of the things that we're doing at home, and it's something that I've picked up over the years, is that yesterday we had a whingy Wednesday. So when we sat down at supper, we had a whingy Wednesday. What are the things that you want to have a good old whinge about? Because it's important that we feel that, you know, that the emotions that we've got going on, the frustrations, that we feel heard, and that we can just release them without any judgment around them. And it's just, this has been annoying me, this has been frustrating me, I had a bit of a wobble then, when's it all going to finish? And it was, okay, we hear you and we love you and it's okay. But every other day, it's, what have you done today to be proud of? You know, what's the one thing that you've done today that has made you feel good? And what was interesting is at the beginning of the lockdown, it was all around the work that I've done, and I managed to get online to this, or I managed to complete that job. Now around the table, it's, I went for a walk and I saw the sunset, or I got out to lunch, or I actually had a moment in the garden in the middle of the day and I just calmed down and did a breathing exercise. And the focus of what's important is shifting. So with regards to having 2 parents, 2 kids, it's a great opportunity to learn about history as well. If you've got different generations, Paul, it's think about what stories can you be telling the children for them to learn, because you guys are, you know, you've got a wealth of knowledge that at school they don't get, and by the time they get home they've had enough of learning. You've been working all day, but this is a great opportunity to actually potentially get out the pictures or just tell some of the great stories of what you've learnt as you've gone through life. I know Derek talks about writing a book. Tell the book. We're storytellers as human beings.
Fantastic, Gabie. Just going to go back to Geoff for 30 seconds and then Godfrey, and then I'm going to throw it open. I've still got a question from Norman on here, but I'll throw it open for everybody for 10 or 15 minutes. Geoff, I had a question for you yesterday that I didn't ask you, but the question was, how did you get a haircut in when we're all locked down?
Thanks.
You don't have to answer that.
I purchased this was it a year ago? About a year ago, I purchased some clippers. So whilst I'm travelling, whilst I'm out and about, if I'm away for a week or two, I will take my clippers with me and give myself a nice little number one, and then I'm ready for on stage the next day.
I won't tell you how much I pay for a haircut, and I need one desperately now. I'll come back to you if you've got anything else. Godfrey's also got a pair of clippers, clearly from his... he had a lot of hair when I first met him. I think the stress of having me as a pal caused him to lose his hair. I'm going to unmute everybody now and throw it open. If no one says anything, I'll ask Norman's question while you're thinking it through. But thanks everybody for joining, and great questions so far. So everybody should be unmuted. Put your hand up if you want to ask a question, and I'll bring you in. Tony Artist from Bournemouth.
Just think on this. It's an observation, and Gabrielle touched on it. Do you not think what you're doing at the moment is the answer to social distancing? And also your reference to Carnegie, make new friends and influence people. This is what is happening with these Zoom gatherings. And you're saying about people coming in, perhaps that should be the strap line when you go out to all the people that have your executive briefing or whatever.
Yeah, no, thanks.
That's just an observation.
Yeah, no, thanks very much. Well, actually, we've had nearly 200 people, some people coming in every time, like John and one or two others. Kevin usually sends his apologies from Chicago today. Yeah, I've had more meetings on Zoom and met more people than I could have done by going up to London for one meeting. So it's really interesting. Geoff?
Just to go back on that question, and Tony's just said there about, influence people, making new friends. Zoom has given us this, certainly. The whole sort of, the more females on something like this, there's a very easy way of doing it, Derek. And you and I did it, you did it for 3 years at the PSA, is that you contact 3 or 4 females to do those 3-4 minute Q&As.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, then your screen is a third female.
Yeah, what Geoff and I did at the Professional Speaking Association, we had a quick brainstorm and we decided that if we had a Meet the Professionals session and we gave everybody a 5-minute slot where they could video themselves and they had to pay to come to the conference, we just picked up 20 times £200 for, what's that for? 4 grand in the bank. And of course, people love that. And it works. So we involve people. Yep. Okay. I've tucked that one away, Geoff.
Everybody wants to be. Not every.
No.
The vast majority
everyone.
of speakers. The vast majority of people would like to be on the main stage. Therefore, you cut down the time of the main stage speakers. You bring more main stage speakers on. People who are invited to speak main stage, they pay the money to attend. Ka-ching.
Yeah.
I think professional speakers, you guys are going to get challenged, I'm afraid, because I'm advising a lot of international organisations on changes. All of them have cancelled all of their conferences this year, and most are severely cutting their conferences for 2021. And most are considering moving and changing their models entirely to more remote working. So I think the days of and younger people are perhaps more attuned to Greta and maybe a little anti flying around the world like I've been all my life attending conferences. I think there is going to be significant disruption to conference and public speaking.
Can I come in on that, Derek?
Of course, Godfrey. Thanks.
Very interesting point just made there. Just share a little anecdote, and Derek knows my daughter very well, who works in high-end hospitality and event management, and was working for a bank as a freelance contractor, about to run their global conference in London, when this all hit. And the first thing the chief executive said, it's all off, can't do it. Within 10 minutes, he changed his mind and he said, no, we're going to do it, but we're going to have a virtual conference, see how it works.
Yeah.
And so they did in London. The stage was there, and they paid for it, but they beamed in all the speakers. There were about 300 speakers during the week. They beamed them into the screen on the stage with nobody in the audience. And then the IT guys worked out how they could hook this up to everybody's device anywhere in the world. And it was a huge success. And so this particular bank has said, we're going to do this again. And to our amazement and luck and fingers crossed, my daughter, who thought she was going to be out of a job, has been retained to plan more conferences on this basis later in the year.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
So,
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're not totally disrupted. You're just not traveling, and probably you can get in more slots. I mean, we've just run, for one client, a European managing partners meeting that normally would have involved all the managing partners traveling to a location in Europe, meeting, and it would have taken 2 days of their time. And it took 3 hours remotely, and everyone rated the meeting more strongly. You don't get the same personal interaction as you do leaning on the bar,
Of course.
or having a great meal out, but the actual business element
Sure.
is great. So I mean, not all conferences will go, but the groups I'm talking to will cut down to maybe one major conference a year once is over, in order to get the real interaction, relationship stuff that you don't get online. But multiple meetings, I think, will be a thing of the past after the end of this crisis. The other thing I'm finding really fascinating is the same as in 2008. I mean, I act for and work with accounting firms. And in 2008, the top line revenues of all the accounting firms were severely hit. But in fact, all the profits per partner rose that year because for once there was good leadership. So all the decisions they should have been making during the fat times, they made when the pressure was really on. So things, and that's happening now. So things like the divisions and service lines that they've been operating unprofitably are all getting cut now. They should have been cut before, but there was no need because life was good. Premises are being closed down. Partners that should have been retired earlier are being retired. There's a lot of strong and good leadership taking place now, which happens in a time of crisis. It doesn't happen in the fat time.
And I think one of the things, John, is that good leadership is agile. And with what's going on at the moment, the companies and the speakers, you know, this goes back to your previous point as well. The speakers that are agile, you know, like Derek, who has embraced Zoom and embraced this format, will have a place. And whilst companies are changing the way they're doing conferences, I think there will still be a place for speaking and speakers. It will just be slightly different. It will be different.
Geoff, you wanted to make a point?
Yeah,
Geoff Ramm?
Just going back to the industry will adapt. It will change, but it will also adapt. And there will be, as John said, there'll be some events that will go by the way. There'll be, you know, virtual events. I mean, it's been talked about for the last 10 years in the world of professional speaking that we're going to have virtual events, and you will be able to teleport over there to do your talk, which is fine. I've been in an audience. I've been in a physical audience where I've seen somebody on a screen from America. It's okay, but we're still there in the room. And how many times do I hear clients And certainly for internal meetings, I understand where different companies come from different areas and they come to one event, and there's those corridor conversations, there's that leaning against the bar. And how many times have you heard, I got more from having breakfast than I did for an entire day program, but that's why we come. How many times do I hear that we never do this? It's the first time we've done this in ages. We get everybody together and there's a buzz. And rather than hide behind emails, and Zoom is great. But it's interesting. I did a conference 18 months ago in Los Angeles, and there was 14,000 attended the conference. It was just off the scale. And 10,000 were from Australasia. So that's a lot of jet fuel. You know, that's a lot of people. But it's a holiday. And they take their colleagues and partners and they go for 4 or 5 days. The conference is 2 days. And they tag a holiday on the back of it. And this organization is going all virtual this year. But I got an email this morning from their other office in India. Could I deliver a webinar to 1,000 of their members? Of course I can. So yes, agile and being adaptive, of course. I'll be here or I'll be wherever. We can do it on Zoom. They can record it. That's great. I hope that we don't lose that handshaking. I hope that we don't lose that real...
Don't you think it's slightly generational as well? Because, I mean, all of the business I ever did was all about handshakes and at the bar and having meals. And I get the impression that the younger generation are more into social media or video and that sort of connection rather than relationship. I don't think the relationship, as I understand it, factor in business is not so vital. Sorry, Gabrielle, go on.
So one of the things that children are already saying is that they want to go back to school. The parents never thought that they would hear that before. They want to go back to school because they miss the interaction. We are animals.
They can't cope with the discipline at home.
Yeah, but that, you know, we as human beings love and need contact, physical contact. And I think you're right in so much as the younger generation. I mean, my daughter and son, they can write on these whilst they're talking to you. I don't know how they do it, but they still appreciate and get value from contact. So I think Geoff is right that nothing beats that interaction, that human, whether it be a handshake or a pat on the back or just chat and laughter together. The Wi-Fi works better when you're together. Sorry.
There's something one-dimensional about this, isn't it? Although I think it's brilliant. I think it's worked really well. And I've met so many other people that I haven't talked to for the last 3 or 4 weeks, which is fantastic. But, you know, I tell the story when I'm speaking that I'd go to a Rolling Stones concert anyway, anytime, and pay £400 for a seat. I mean, why I like the Rolling Stones is because they're the only group that are older than me. Mick Jagger's fantastic at marketing, controls the whole marketing spend, and they put their prices up to the maximum they can possibly negotiate and still fill seats. So they've only got 4 songs. They've reinvented them about 10 times, which is absolutely brilliant. But you can buy Jumping Jack Flash for 90p on iTunes and get the same experience as you can pay £400 for it. So there is something, I think, that will get back to this. Guys, I'm going to close the recording down in a minute. Steve hasn't said anything. He wants to ask a question, so I'm going to let Steve ask a question. I'm going to stay on the line and chat with you guys and Gabie for as long as you want to. Steve, you wanted to ask a question? Steve Cohen?
Well, I didn't want to ask a question. I wanted to just tell you when you were talking about children. I'm actually from the States, so and Kevin actually told me about this happening today. So one thing that I find is if a child had social isolation when they were young, they seem to be tolerating this fairly well. And I agree with what you said about them being at school and now they want to get back to school because they're used to being social with each other. But the kids that I've seen that were sort of, they've been growing up with this machine in their hands, they don't seem like they're missing anything. They just go back and they remain in social isolation.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us from the States, Steve. Where are you, in Chicago?
I'm about 60 miles from Chicago.
Okay, what's that called?
It's called Batavia. I'm in a town called Batavia, Illinois.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us, and I hope you can join us next week as well. And we're delighted to have you join us. Fantastic. Norman's asked a question, but I think I'm not sure about the answer. Social distancing is likely to go on until a vaccine is available mid-2021. How are we going to get a haircut? Is the question really in a nutshell. When
we'll have you in a ponytail before too long.
Interesting. I've got one of my clients in Ireland. They have the biggest hair salon brand in Ireland. It's a company called Peter Mark. Very, very successful business. And every day, one of their salons is putting on a video online, Instagram, YouTube, on how you can look after your hair, the condition of your hair, how to dare say, cut your own hair, style your own hair for various things. So they're offering value. I think where the business can come in from, because if they can't cut hair for another 12 months minimum, it's got to be product route, which
selling products.
Salons are great at in any case, selling product. But again, it comes back to knowing your clients, picking up the phone and saying, Derek, we're not seeing you for a few months, obviously. You must be running short on XYZ shampoo. We've got 2 in stock now. Do you want them? So I think there's also opportunities to reconnect, but also sell as well.
Not with you, Geoff. You don't need shampoo, do you?
He needs to moisturise his bald patch.
You're still recording. I'm going to say nothing.
Guys, I'm going to stop the recording so Geoff can swear at me, all right? Thanks for joining me. 5:30 on Monday, 5:30 on Thursday, and with Simon Hazeldine on NeuroCell. Simon's a fantastic guy. Geoff knows him really well. He's written a book on the psychology of selling using some of the techniques that Gabie's talked to us about. So he'll be on at 12:30 on Wednesday. Something definitely not to miss. I spoke to him yesterday and persuaded him to join us. So have a great weekend. I'll stop the recording now, and I'm going to stay on.